Good morning, everyone. My name is Tshidi. I'm back with another video. Last week or this week, I basically put together a video that speaks about your strengths and your weaknesses. My main focus in that video was more on the weaknesses side, because I think that's the part that a lot of people actually struggle with the most. Today, I've decided that maybe it's time to focus on the strengths, because that's also another area that some people have already highlighted that they need some help with. Please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like this video, because then it will help me actually get a lot more people to see it. The more you recommend it to your friends, the more we're able to continue doing this video. So just buckle up, because this is going to be another very interesting video. Awesome. Now back to the strengths. I think the question of strengths is one of those problems that people tend to not know what to speak about, because a lot of people's worry is, I don't like speaking about myself, or I don't like speaking about some of the achievements that I think I've had. And we always speak about people struggling with that as there's a new phenomenon called the imposter syndrome, which basically says, I might not be as great as I think I might be. Some people might think that I'm not as great. So you start doubting that you are capable of doing some of the work that you need to be able to do. Whereas in reality, you actually are as good as everybody else says you are. So don't doubt yourself. Put your best foot out there. But this is basically how you'll be able to actually answer this question, because that's very important. So I'm going to look at about 3 main principles that you should always remember before you start answering this question. And then what I'll also do is at the end, I'll just take you guys through one of my examples of how I'd answer a question like this. And this example is based on what I've been able to deliver in my role, and what I've been able to show the business from that side. Now, the first 3 main principles that you need to always focus on when you speak about what are your strengths and weaknesses, and you focus mainly on the strength side, is to always think of 2 things. Number 1 is, the starting point is your job description. I always say to people, it is very, very important that before you even go for that interview, you've studied that job description like through and through. You know exactly what has been required in that job. You know exactly what they're looking for. And the reason why this is actually very, very important is because the mistake that we always make is that we always assume that we know what the job requires. And then we don't realize that understanding and reading through that job's responsibility will give you the edge over everybody else. Because when it comes to your strengths, it's easier to take 1 or 2 strengths that are there based on the job description for you to actually, give back to the panel to say, these are my strengths. So for example, this is how I'll do it. One of the key things that they'll say is, when they're speaking about the strengths and you look at the job description, you then look at what are some of the highlights or some of the strengths that these guys are looking for in the job spec. Because once you're able to look at that, you're able to then say, based on this job spec, this is basically what they're saying they're looking for, and this is what I'm capable of delivering. Then you can then deliver based on that. But if you don't know what the strengths are on the job spec itself, you won't be able to speak freely about what is actually required from your side. You need to do enough research where you need to actually look at all the other job specs that are available. Well, not all, basically as many as you can online, to see, what is out there? What can I read? What do they say about this role? What are some of the people that are successful? And I always say, make YouTube your best friend, because some of the things that you might not be able to read online, you might be able to actually see in videos on YouTube. You can type it as if you're typing on Google to say, what are the strengths or what are my strengths on YouTube, and it will pull up all the videos that actually speak about the same thing, and allows you to at least learn about how to put that together. Still, under understanding the job description, you also need to make sure that you read that job spec as if your life depends on it. Because if you don't, you won't be able to know what those strengths are and those responsibilities that will actually stand out. Because then you show the panel that you know exactly what this company is all about. The second principle that I said is skills and experiences that are required but might not necessarily be listed on the job. So that's where we now speak about the research that you've done. Because if you haven't done enough research about that job, you won't know some of the skills that the panel might not have spoken to the people that put together the job spec, or you might not be aware of some of the strengths that are not necessarily written on the job spec. So that is why it's very, very important that you do very extensive research to understand what is out there and what do people speak that do this role. What do they say about it, especially on YouTube videos, because they've simplified how you look at strengths and weaknesses. So it's very, very important that you actually understand that research about this role does not just only extend to what's written on the job spec, but it's also some of the unwritten principles. The third extremely very important principle, which I say you will never forget, and you should never ever forget this regardless of what we're talking about, what topic is to remember to give examples. A lot of people tend to give us answers that are perfect, but are not able to give examples that are in line with exactly that perfect answer. So when we speak about examples, is you might have been working in a manufacturing company, and somebody might have been working in a financial institution, and you're at a job that is in the financial spaces. What is important in that instance is you don't have to give them examples of financial services. You can still give examples of the construction industry, and make sure that those examples are aligned to what they're looking for, because that's where the mistake comes in, where people say, but I haven't done this in financial services. That doesn't matter. You've done something along those same lines in another industry. So it's very, very important then that you actually are able to give such examples that highlight that every answer that you're giving, there's an example that's tied to that, because then people can speak. They now see the practical side or the practical nature of what you've been able to deliver. So that's why it's very, very important that every answer that you give, it always comes with an example. So those are the three main principles that I say you should follow. Number one is start with the job description, understand what's written in the job description. Two, make sure that you know enough about what has not necessarily been written in the job description itself, through research, through other different job descriptions that are online. And then number three, remember to always give examples. Now, if somebody was to ask me the question that says, what are your strengths? The easiest thing is this is how I'd normally answer it. So in the last 9 years, I've been in financial services industry, and I've been able to work with very different complex teams. But where my strength has always been has been to make sure that we rebrand the company and we rebrand what it's capable of. And what I've been very lucky to do in the last couple of years has been able to reduce the cost to hire by more than 95%. I've been able to reduce the cost of agency spend by more than 95%. I've also been able to reduce the number of agencies that we work with to only partner with those agencies that have been able to deliver a lot of value and a lot of good to the company, that understand the values of the company, that understand the type of skills that we're looking for. Those are the companies that I've decided to actually work with. And what we've now realized is that it's reduced the time to hire drastically, where it used to take more than 3 months for you to hire somebody. We're able to do quite a lot of those in less than 6 weeks. So those are some of the strengths that I've got, is the ability to be able to organize, and also on top of that, make sure that the teams that I've led understood the values of the roles that they were working on in such a way that they're able to sometimes speak about the role as if they work in that particular role itself. So those are some of the strengths that I've had, is to make sure that we impart as much knowledge with everybody else, and to make sure that everybody else understands exactly the value of why it needs to they need to come and work for a company like our company. So those are some of the strengths that I've been able to showcase, where it's a reduction of the costs by more than 95%, and the cost could be on agency spend as well as the time to hire. We've been able to build a trusted advisor with the different business leaders, where they're now trusted as, and the advice that we gave them, if we felt that the candidate wasn't the right candidate, they were able to trust, and they were able to come back to us and say, what do you think about this? Mainly because we're able to showcase that we understand exactly what they're looking for, not just there to put a bum on a seat, and we're there to make sure that we partner fully and give them exactly what they're looking for. So now once you've had that and you gave that as an answer, the beauty about that is that people are then able to see that you just didn't only come for a job interview. You're there to actually make sure that you show them that, number one, you know about the values of the company and you know where your strengths are aligned with those values of the company. So once you can get people to trust you when it comes to that, you're able to make sure that anybody that listens to you knows that you've done enough research. Once again, please do not forget to subscribe. And here on the link, you'll see there's a video. I don't know if it's here or there. There's a video there that you can actually look at that speaks about some of the other skills that you might have. So please don't forget to subscribe, share this with your friends, and I'll see you in another video. Thank you. Until next time.